What's up? What's up? What's up, Traeger Nation? How's everybody doing out there? Man, I'm so thrilled to be back in front of you guys once again. And this time, the temperature is absolutely beautiful. I did this back in July, and it was 100 degrees out here at this time, and it wasn't very pleasant. It was a good cook, but wasn't very pleasant. I'm CJ of Mom and Papa Joe's BBQ. My wife and I created our competition team back in 2012. And man, over the years, we've managed to win some of the largest competitions here in the state of Texas. Traveled to 6 or 7 different states, doing very well. I'm retired military, retired from the military in 2006. Taught public school for 9 years or so after retirement. And eventually, barbecue bug got the best of me. Right around 2014, started to dedicate most of my awoke days thinking about barbecue. And it has led to this moment. I've been working with Traeger since 2015. And I'm telling you, they're absolutely beautiful. Love their pits. So I'm all about Traegers. So once again, very happy to be here. Today, my wife, Alicia, Mama of Mom and Papa Joe's, will be taking your questions. So you might hear her in the background. The recipes you're gonna see today, folks, can be found on the Traeger website. If you haven't yet downloaded the Traeger app, man, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's an absolutely wonderful app. Thousands of awesome tried and true recipes to include the ones you're gonna see today. And if you're still on the fence about getting a Traeger, make it happen. You will not regret it. I'm talking about the convenience, man, the functions of Traegers. You know, that set it and forget it, the super smoke function, the keep it warm function, the timing functions. I can go on and on and on. Check out their website. And if you're not able to check out their website, then go to your local dealers, the Home Depot, the Ace Hardware, Costco, Lowe's, Barbecue Outfitters. And one of my favorite right here in the great state of Texas is my buddy Eddie Medrano's Barbecue Depot in New Braunfels. Check them out. You will be better for it. Impress your neighbors. Make it happen. So today on the menu is going to be beef shanks. Beef shank, a tough piece of meat, a tough cut of meat, man, that really, really does well with the slow braised process. It's a working muscle, so it gets a lot of action and it toughens up to support those big heifers and steers. So really does well with slow braising. In addition to the beef shanks, we're going to do some awesome Traeger mashed potatoes. I started those a little while ago. And then one of my favorite, Traeger cabbage and bacon fried. You're really going to enjoy these recipes, man. And once again, I want to really thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let's get straight into the meat of things. Of course, I've got these beef shanks already on. I want to give you just a quick idea of the trimming process if and when you decide to go cook these shanks. There isn't a whole lot. More often than not, they're going to come fairly well trimmed from your local butchers. I got these from my local grocery store, HEB, and man, they're nicely marbled. The shank is actually right underneath the body, where the body and the leg, both front and back legs, where they come into contact. When you get them whole, they can be a foot tall and massive. If you want one like that, you could probably get it from your butcher. But if you don't, then you'll want to buy it sliced. you'll want to buy it sliced. And this is a center cut, so it comes from that center of the shank. And what's great about it is, man, while it's cooking, the actual marrow in these big bones, in this leg bone, actually melts down and really, really fortify and flavor that gravy that starts out as your braising liquid. And we're gonna see some of that in a few. This required very to no trimming, man. So we're not gonna do much else besides just simply trusting. And we trust to try to get it to hold its shape. But you're gonna cook these to the point where they're pretty much falling apart. And chances are they're going to swell up and twist and turn and break out of your trust. So if it happens, don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. It is not a big deal. So just a little butcher twine. All right, twist a couple of 3-4 times. And what that does is pretty much creates a lock so you can finish your knot. I would suggest that you don't tie very tightly, because as these cook and they start to swell up, they'll want to punch out, they want to pull out of this truss. So don't tie very tightly. And you notice, because I twisted that 3 or 4 times, it actually locks by itself without me needing a second set of hands or a knot. So here comes my final knot, and that is going to be all that I need. Just a quick snip, and we are ready to go, folks. Doesn't take much more than that. Nice. Now to season, I'm simply going to use some salt and pepper to start. I'm going to try my fancy fresh grind black pepper. You want to get the sides. You want everything to taste good. Nice. The question was, are beef shanks available at most grocery stores? And I would say yes. I see them pretty much anywhere I go. But man, if you're able to talk to your local butcher, you can get them cut to the size that you want. Because sometimes I see them and they're cut pretty thin. These are cut about 2 inches thick, which I think is just awesome. If you wanted them bigger than that, you could ask your local butcher. So yes, available just about everywhere. This is some Himalayan pink salt. I have really become a fan of Himalayan pink salt. I think it provides a little more oomph than regular salt. All of the studies say it doesn't, so maybe it's mental, but I really think it adds a little kick. And then my second rub is going to be Traeger's Prime Rib Rub. Nice and granular, man. It's got all the additional, the garlic, the cumin, the paprika that wasn't in the black pepper and salt. So it's a great compliment. And again, don't be afraid to season pretty heavily, man. This is a large cut of meat, and we're gonna be cooking for a significant period of time. So do not be afraid to season liberally.
Are beef shanks more difficult to cook compared to lamb shanks?
Same process. The question was, are beef shanks more difficult to cook than lamb shanks? Absolutely not. I think it's pretty much the same process. The cooking time for lamb shanks may be a little shorter, but in terms of difficulty, absolutely not. Great question. Ladies and gentlemen, and as far as seasoning, it was that simple. It was that simple. This one, I've got so many lamb shanks being cooked and have been cooked. This one is going to go back into the freezer for another day.
What's the best pellet for beef shanks?
The best pellet. What's the best pellet for beef shank? I love my tried and true hickory. I will use hickory on anything. I will use hickory on anything. Some of the other pellets that I really like on beef shank could be mesquite. And unlike raw mesquite wood, you're not going to have that issue of it overpowering your meat when it comes to the pellets. So mesquite would be another good one. Another one of my favorites is the Texas beef. And I know Traeger is getting ready to do away with the Texas beef, but that would have been a great one. But man, just about anything works, will complement beef shank. So I would not be too particular about what pellet I'm going to use. They will all complement beef shank.
One more quick question, CJ. Where did you get your cutting board and your salt and pepper grinders?
Where did I get my cutting board and my salt and pepper grinders? I'm telling you, I saw these salt and pepper grinders on YouTube, and I was like, man, that's awesome. They come with a blue light. I don't know, maybe you want to season when the power goes out or something, whatever. And I just thought they were cool. So I bought them on Amazon. These cutting boards are absolute work of art. They're done by my buddy out of Ohio, Heath Bletziker, Bletziker Wood Shop. Google him, man, he will take care of him. Tell him CJ sent you, and he'll take care of you. The craft that he's so skilled at is amazing. What he can do. If you can imagine it, Heath can build it. Absolutely. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So sorry about that. That's one of the perils of live broadcasting. I think the last thing I said or was about to do was to finish the braising liquid. We had just finished seasoning the shanks. I talked about putting them on the pit, 225 for an hour, then 300 for another hour till we've gotten the color we want. We are at that point. I've got the braising liquid on simply because this is a broadcast. We don't have 6 or 7 hours to get this done. So I'm going to finish the braising liquid just before putting the shanks into them. Woo! Now, this braising liquid consists of a cup and a half of beef stock, 3/4 cup of your favorite drinking red wine, dry red wine. To start, there's a mirepoix in there, onions, celery, and carrots. I've got a small to medium onion, yellow onion, that's what I prefer. 2 carrots, I've chopped them up into small cubes. And then 2 celery stalks into fairly small slices. And I want to cook down the stock, the wine, and the mirepoix for about, give or take 10, 12, maybe even 20 minutes, just to reduce a little bit, cook off that alcohol, reduce and really strengthen those overall flavors. That is where we are now. Along with the onions, celery, and carrots, I've added a couple of 3 thyme sprigs. Now I'm going to come back with 2 bay leaves and a half cup of diced tomatoes. I am using an actual fire roasted diced tomatoes. I can see the chunk of black on the skin of the tomatoes. It's going to really add a nice earthiness to this stock. Want to give that a nice stir. And I'm only going to put this on the pit for another, give or take 5 minutes just to get those tomatoes going. So back on the pit for about 5 more minutes.
And CJ, quick question. How long can you store the beef shanks after you season it?
I would not store them more than 2 weeks. I'm going to have to run out, grab some more shanks, and cook another meal. And what's great about shanks, folks, it's one of those things where you can cook a meal, freeze it, and thaw it out, and cook another, and eat another day. Right now, I want to work on my cream for these mashed potatoes. These mashed potatoes are finished, and I need to get them going. We lost some time, but that is not an issue. So in this pot, I had a stick and a half of butter, sweet cream salted. Stick and a half sweet cream salted. To that, I'm going to add a cup and a half of heavy whipping cream. A cup and a half of heavy whipping cream. I've pretty much got the butter melted. So all I want to do is just bring this whipping cream, which is at room temperature, ambient temperature. I just want to bring this up just a little more so that it doesn't cool down my potatoes after I mash them. So back onto the pit. Any other questions right now?
Yes. What temperatures are you
The beef shank right now is at 300. Remember, we did 225 for an hour and then cranked it to 300. The question was, what temperature am I cooking the beef shanks? 225 for an hour and then 300 for another hour. Right now we are in that second hour, just about, I think we may be a couple of 5 minutes beyond that second hour. So these beef shanks are ready to come off. These beef shanks are ready to come off. So guys, I'm cooking multiple things at the same time in the interest of time. Right now I've got, earlier I cooked some bacon for these bacon, for this fried cabbage and bacon. I cooked some bacon, some awesome Snake River Farms bacon. And I will tell you, man, this Snake River Farms bacon might be the best balanced bacon I've ever had. The salt content is absolutely perfect. You know, unlike some store-bought bacon, man, you will find bacon that's too salty, others that aren't salty enough. But this Snake River Farm Kurubota bacon is absolutely wonderful. I cooked some bacon in a cast iron skillet earlier today. And that cast iron skillet, I kept some of the drippings. In that drippings, I've got half a medium yellow onion, and you can see the color. Right now I'm cooking this at 375. You can see the color these onions have gotten. And this is going to be the base for my cabbage and onions. All right, my fried cabbage and onions. This is screaming hot. You can see the onion starting to caramelize, nice color, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So I'm gonna come back with a teaspoon and a half of minced garlic. And I've got half of a large green cabbage. Half of a large green cabbage. And we're just going to mix this in. I'm gonna put it back on the pit and get this going. Folks, starting to smell good around here. Starting to smell great.
So CJ, did you say that you super smoked the shanks at 225 for the first hour?
So yes, the question was, did I super smoke the shanks for the first hour? Yes, I super smoked the shanks for the first hour at 225, and then the second hour was at 300. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not interested in getting additional smoke, or if you're pressed for time and need to speed your cook-up, you can go at 300 the entire way, and all you might require instead of 2 hours is an hour and a half. So again, that's one of the great things about these Traegers. You've got options. They give you options. 300 for about an hour and a half, and you would be good to go. I forgot to season my garlic, my cabbage. Oh, we're smelling great right now.
CJ, what do you consider an essential Traeger accessory?
An essential Traeger accessory. Now I will tell you, because the question was, what do I consider an essential, a must-have Traeger accessory? I will tell you, because I cook a lot of large pieces of meat, whether they be pork butts or brisket, pork shoulders, you name it, racks of ribs. I love the simple, large meat spatula. Edges, you can actually, you can almost cut with them. This is a significant part of my competition routine. Those students who have taken my class know exactly how I use this. But yes, this is simple, but I consider it essential. All right, let's get to work on these potatoes. I'm going to pull them. Before I work on the potatoes, I am going to now get my Shanks into the braising liquid. Ladies and gentlemen, look at these. Look at that color. And this color, folks, is from the smoke and this prime rib rub. That is absolutely beautiful. And they're trussed, but you see how this one curved inwards? So again, something you can't control. That marrow is starting to soften, and it's gonna finish up in the braising liquid. But these are absolutely beautiful, man. I love them. And to start, these each weighed right around 1.25 pounds. So all we're gonna do now is simply place them into our braising liquid. And at the same time, we wanna make sure that we cover them up with some of the herbs and the veggies we've got in here. All right, we talked about the carrots, the onions, the celery. And then we're gonna give this a nice tight cover. And we're not gonna come back and look at these for probably another hour. I like to flip them at an hour, then go a second hour, and then check them at 2 hours. And usually they're good right around 2 hours, 2:15, sometimes 2:30. Sometimes 2.5 hours. So I want to use a really tight lid. I've got a foil lid I created earlier. All right. Really squeeze tight.
Having a dinner party and serving this meal, what would be the total cook this?
Just if you were having a dinner party and planning to cook something like this, what would be the total amount of time? I don't think with these Traegers, especially if you're running the 1300 with ample room, that your cook is going to be extended. Now the prep work, the seasoning and everything else, yes, that's going to be extended. So you may want to add an additional half an hour. But total from start to finish prepping, you should be able to get this done in about 6 hours. I really think you should be able to get this done in about 6 hours. All right, so back to our potatoes now. These are Yukon Gold potatoes. I actually prepped about 4 of them, and they were pretty much perfect. They were pretty much medium-sized potatoes. So I'm guesstimating right around 3 to 3.5 pounds. Here at the house, it's just the wife and I. So I don't need to cook much more than that. Matter of fact, 3 pounds of potatoes is going to last us for multiple days. So I want to look. So I cube these potatoes into fairly small cubes. The larger the cubes, the larger the pieces that you put in there, the longer it's going to cook. And then I added about a third of a cup of water. I lightly seasoned with salt. Cover tightly and put it on the pit. This took about an hour and 15 minutes to get to this point where we're ready to mash. So ladies and gentlemen, again, it's not very difficult, man. I simply want to transfer these potatoes, leaving the water behind. Into whatever bowl you decide you're going to mash in. Man, they smell great. This is about the only time I use Yukon Gold is when I'm doing mashed potatoes. Perfect timing, even with our little internet mishap. Come on, get out of there. And I will tell you right off of the bat, I don't know how many of you like your potatoes smooth and whipped. I am such a fan of texture. So I do not want my potatoes completely pureed, so to speak, or whipped smooth. I love to be able to taste just a little bit of a, I'm not going to call it a lump, but just some texture as I'm eating these potatoes. So as I start mashing, I want to check on my heavy cream. And my butter mixture, that should be good to go. Oh, we are golden. We are golden. I'm gonna give my cabbage and onions a little stir. Oh yeah. Looking good, smelling good. Ooh, hot, hot.
So CJ, while you're mashing your potatoes, I got a question for you. Can a liquid browning sauce be used as an alternative if you don't have a braising liquid?
Now, a browning sauce tends to be a little, the question was, can a liquid browning sauce be used instead of a braising liquid? A browning liquid tends to have a little bit of sugar in it. And that is what really helps whatever meats you're trying to brown. In terms of a braising liquid, you could add a browning sauce to it, but I don't think that a braising liquid consisting totally of a browning liquid is going to work. I think it'll probably become very overpowering. So no, I would do maybe 1 part browning liquid and 2 or even 3 parts stock or something else. A browning liquid is a great idea, but I don't think it can be used alone in such large quantities as would be required for a braise. Oh, these potatoes are smelling good. That pot is hot, you gotta remember. And again, add small amounts of your heavy cream. You don't want your potatoes to get too liquid. You can always add more. Just remember, you cannot remove it once you put it in there.
And CJ, somebody's asking, what are the pellets that you're using again?
So what pellets am I using and how do I store my pellets? My pellet stash is in the garage. Once I've opened the bag, what didn't go into my hopper is kept in the Traeger storage bucket, the 5-gallon bucket with the lid. My garage is pretty dry. Humidity is not an issue. I'm going to season with some more salt and pepper and some, I'm using, instead of black pepper, I'm using white pepper. And again, to taste. This is to taste. So you're going to come back, continue mashing until you've got the consistency that you like. If you want a stiffer potato, mashed potato, add less cream and butter. If you want a looser mashed potato, add more. So you make plenty like I did, but you don't necessarily use it all. Say again? So once again, the pellets that I'm using are hickory pellets. What pellet am I using today? Hickory pellets.
So somebody wants to know, do you ever leave the peel or the skin on the, as they said, the taters, doing mashed potatoes? And he or she says, I usually do that with the Yukon Gold and also add peeled garlic. They've never done it on a Traeger potato. Do you use the skin on it?
I have done it where I've roasted my potatoes on the Traeger with the skin on. The question was, have I ever done the mashed potatoes leaving the skin on the potatoes? And yes, I have. You end up with a bit of a drier potato, of course, because they're out there butt naked in that Traeger. So it requires a little additional liquid, but yes, it works. It works. What I absolutely love doing potatoes that way on the Traeger with the skin on is to crank it up 400 or something, put butter or olive oil inside some foil and wrap that potato tight and just let that skin cook and get crispy. Nothing better than one of those potatoes. A little more salt. I'm also going to come back with a little more pepper. Again, white pepper. Folks, the smells around here right now, all right? I'm surprised I don't hear the neighbor's dogs because it smells absolutely heavenly. I think we are good.
CJ, somebody wants to know if you're going back to the American Royal this year.
Am I going back? The question was, am I going back to the American Royale this year? We still haven't decided, but if I was to think real hard right now, I would probably say yes, I'm leaning in that direction. Although no decision has been made. Folks, this is where I want, come here. This is where I want my potato, my mashed potato, right here. Right here. I can see some very small pieces of potatoes that remain whole, but they're very small, and that is the texture that I'm speaking of, that I like.
CJ, would bacon work with those potatoes?
Oh, absolutely. The question was, would bacon work with these potatoes? They absolutely would. Yes, bacon absolutely would. Garlic would. I mean, the sky's the limit. And that is what I love, folks, about any recipe. You can tweak that recipe and make it yours. If you're not doing that with recipes, then you're not really cooking. So just about every recipe that I find, man, I've made mine by adding my own little tweaks here and there. Quick stir of my cabbage. This cabbage is not far. Man, we've got some nice color. Some nice color. Cooking down nicely. And what I love about being able to char cabbage, it creates that earthiness, that umami that really adds some oomph to whatever it is you're pairing it with.
CJ, is there a difference with using white pepper in terms of flavor?
I have seen, the question was, is there a difference using white pepper versus black pepper in terms of flavor? I have not seen any. I think using white pepper in mashed potatoes is simply to not create that color contrast. And I am also a believer that if you wanted to use black pepper in yellow mashed potatoes, go ahead, they're yours. I don't see why anyone would consider it an issue. So black pepper in mashed potatoes, go for it. I often sprinkle black pepper after the fact on my mashed potatoes, and I've never given it a second thought. So yes, go for it. Any other questions right now?
What's your favorite Traeger to cook on?
I'll tell you, I love these 1300s, but for me, the question was, what's my favorite Traeger to cook on? I love the Timberline, both Timberlines, the 1300 and the 850. But my favorite of those two will be the 850, simply because of that compact build. It's small enough for you to do just a dozen chicken wings for you and the family, you and the wife. But it's also large enough that you're able to put 3 briskets on there, a couple of racks of ribs. So I just love that convenience in such a small footprint. Love that question.
And CJ, in terms of reheating this dinner or this meal for leftovers, how would you recommend doing that?
Now, the question was, in terms of reheating this dinner, you've got leftovers. The beef shanks, because again, it's such a tough piece of meat that you have braised and slow cooked, you don't want to put it directly into an oven or microwave. So ideally, if you have a vacuum sealer, it's the great way to heat up anything. It's absolutely perfect for heating up a meal such as these beef shanks. Simply vacuum seal, freeze or whatever, and when it's time for you to use it as one of your meals, you thaw it, boil a pot of water, turn that water off, and that room temperature package, that room temperature vacuum seal, simply drop into that pot of hot water for about 15-20 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, it comes off of there, it comes out of there almost exactly like the day you pull it off of the pit. It doesn't lose any juices, it doesn't dry out anything. It's absolutely perfect. Great way to heat up anything. Another awesome question.
CJ, what temperature is the cabbage being cooked at today?
The cabbage is being cooked at 375. The question was, what temperature is the cabbage being cooked? The cabbage is being cooked at 375. So it's going pretty hot. It is going pretty hot because I'm trying to get some color to that onion, to that cabbage. One more stir. Any other questions right now? These sound like, the question was, what is my favorite butter to use and why? I'm going to tell you, I'm such a creature of habit. As I was working on my competition barbecue recipes, I decided I was going to add butter to the mix. And I just snatched the butter off of the shelf. And that butter happened to be Land O'Lakes Sweet Cream Salted. And I'm one of those, if something works the first time, that's what I'm going to use. So over the years, Land O'Lakes has become my favorite butter. I use it on anything. If it calls for salted butter, Land O'Lakes. If it calls for unsalted butter, Land O'Lakes. I absolutely use it on everything. All right, a little more cleanup, folks, and I will start putting together a platter for you guys.
CJ, while you're cleaning up, I got one more question. Aside from this recipe that you're cooking today, what is your favorite thing to cook?
Aside from this recipe that I'm cooking today, what is my favorite thing to cook? My favorite thing to cook are beef ribs, the dino ribs. Now, think about the dino ribs. I love cooking them, but man, I cannot eat a whole lot because of how rich they are. So right behind those dino ribs are beef finger ribs. I love cooking them. And if you don't know what beef finger ribs, they're the thin racks that have been cut off of that ribeye roll, cut very close. Very often, some bones are exposed. But they call finger ribs because they tend to look like fingers as they stretch out into that rack. And the last time I did them, I realized how easy and how quick they were on the Traeger. It took me about 3 hours at 275, and they were absolutely money. I didn't have to wrap. I didn't have to do anything but cook them on the Traeger. Beef finger ribs. So right now, beef ribs are my favorite thing to cook. Yes, the question is the cabbage being cooked with hickory pellets? Absolutely. Both pits are running pellets. Both are running hickory pellets. Oh, the smells. Folks, we got a nice bit of char on this cabbage, cooked down really nicely. I'm going to come back with that Snake River Farms bacon. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a Snake River Farm coupon out there. Take advantage of it. So we're just going to sprinkle some of this. And this was only six slices. So that was 6 slices of bacon that I cooked. Going to move that around. I'm going to put this back on the pit for another 5 or so minutes, man, just to show that bacon some love. About another 5 minutes. All right, so we're gonna come back now, man, and start working on our shanks. So here are the finished shanks that I've had in the warmer. Oh, that is a thing of beauty. That is a thing of beauty. Maybe I should have waited to take, well, this one was loose anyway. Take this truss butcher twine off, but not a problem. So what we're gonna do, and ladies and gentlemen, man, if you have not seen anything like that, that is absolutely beautiful. Now, there was a heck of a lot more gravy, I call it, in here. I've taken some gravy out because I wanted to show you two different ways to finish as you're serving this. So I took some gravy out, strained it, put it on the stove with a little cornstarch, made a cornstarch slurry, about 2 teaspoons of cornstarch to maybe 3 tablespoons of water. Added it to the liquid out of here, and brought it to a boil. Shut it down. Thicken up my gravy nicely. I didn't need to add any seasonings or anything. So strain, defat, add the cornstarch slurry, and you're gonna end up with a nice, silky, clean gravy. I just put it back on the pit to warm up just a tad. So as we begin to build this platter, we're gonna start with some of these awesome mashed taters. Oh. Remember I said as stiff or as loose as you want them.
CJ, while you're putting that platter together, some people want to know, when is Mom and Papa Joe's going to start getting some merchandise out there, like t-shirts and hats?
Awesome question, and I appreciate it to our fans. The question was, when are we going to start putting some swag out there? T-shirts, hats, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, Mom and I created a YouTube channel about 6.5 months ago. Doing fairly well, man. We've got some awesome recipes, most of them Traeger. We have cooked just about everything from aardvark to zebra. So if you're looking for new recipes, I'm talking tutorials A to Z in terms of detail, go and subscribe to Mom and Papa Joe's YouTube channel and take a look at some of those Traeger recipes. I'm talking competition stuff, non-competition stuff, backyard, you name it, we've done it. If we haven't done it, that's only because we haven't gotten to it yet. But the swag will come out once we hit 2,000 subscribers, and we're not very far away. We are not very far away from 2,000 subscribers. So thanks for that question. Go subscribe. You're gonna love what you see. You're gonna love our content. So I'm removing this butcher twine. Oh, these are beautiful. Woo, Nelly. Oh, that bone right there. This is what we talk about falling off the bone, ladies and gentlemen. Falling off the bone. Nice and light. Not overdoing it. Folks, tell me that is not a thing of beauty, man. Tell me that does not look great. Oh, that's beautiful. We're gonna pull these cabbage. Oh, the smells around here. Neighbors are looking over the fence wondering what's going on. Now, I spoke earlier of the two different ways I wanted to finish with this little bit of gravy or sauce. So with this way, you're going to utilize the veggies and the juice from the bottom. You're going to utilize the veggies and the juices from the bottom. Guys, sorry about that once again, man. So we're gonna move a little quickly with these internet issues. But here's the second way I spoke of. This is that gravy that I cleaned up, strained, And we're simply going to drizzle that over everything. Oh, this is money. Absolutely beautiful. Those cabbage, smelling great. All right, so that's what we're talking about right there. Ladies and gentlemen, no knife required. No knife required. I mean, this is absolutely tender as a babe's bottom. Tender as a mother's love. Oh. Look how that comes apart. That cabbage. Folks, I'm going to sit down and really do some damage. I'm going to sit down and really do some damage. Once again, I just really want to thank you guys for hanging out with Mom and Papa Joe's, Traeger Nation. We appreciate it. Thanks for spending time with us, bearing with the internet issue on this Traeger Kitchen Live. If you haven't yet, hit that, downloaded that app or checked out the website, do so. You will find this and many, many, many more recipes. Please do that. You'll be better for it. Any of the products you saw here today can be found on TraegerGrills.com or your local dealer. Please make it happen. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Robert Mondavi will be the cook in the next Traeger Kitchen Live in 2 weeks. Once again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and I will see you when we see you. Take care.